almost perfect so far. Welcome to episode 90 of LAFC Plus. He is Mario Ruiz. I'm Dave Denholm. Mario, how you doing, buddy?
Man, Dave, honestly, you said it almost perfect. I don't think I could feel any better right now with the start of LAFC in 2026. Not only did LAFC advance in the Conca Champions, which was amazing and it was in dominant fashion, not
Yep.
only did LAFC dominate in the season opener against Inter Miami at the Coliseum and shut down Messi, but now we get the news of Denis Bouanga. LAFC locking in, re-signing for a multi-year contract. I can't be any better, Dave. It's been a killer start to 2026.
It is. It has been, and it's been great. It's been great here on LAFC Plus, presented by Hotel Indigo, Los Angeles. We appreciate their support. And Mario, you mentioned it. The top story, of course, Denis Bouanga and LAFC agreeing to a multi-year contract extension, of course, at the designated player level, which is where Denis already was. And I tweeted out about it. Just nobody deserves it more. I mean, like, he did everything he had to do. He fully deserves this. Kudos to he and the team for getting this done. Frankly, there were rumors flying. Legitimate stories in the offseason about Inter Miami coming in with a heavy bid. Who knows how much and how much of it's true, what the facts of it were true, whether, how much the money was true in the stories and the reporting. Doesn't matter. He wasn't going anywhere. He's not going anywhere. He signs with LAFC long-term now, Mario. And again, fully deserved. I mean, you have to start talking about this guy like not just as a legend of LAFC, but an MLS legend at this point.
Oh yeah, and when you lock in a player like Denis, a guy on that level, a guy on Sonny's level, of course, Son Heung-Min, of course, when you lock guys in like that for multi-years, you're telling people that LAFC is for real right now. They're on a quest for trophies in 2026. There's no breaking up this team. Apparently, it doesn't matter how much money comes at you. LAFC is sticking with this roster because they have special plans. They have a lot of ambition and motivation right now with the guys that are here right now. And of course, led by the one and only Denis Bouanga.
Yeah, we say almost perfect because they gave up one goal in those
One
three
goal,
matches. So
Yep.
it was on a set piece. We know our history of those where we're kind of still, we don't struggle. You don't give up 40 goals in an MLS regular season and really be struggling defensively in any area, because that's a great defensive record. But we've had some goals allowed on set pieces, and that's the one thing Mark Dos Santos has probably been using to kind of, quote unquote, yell at his team about, because there's really nothing else. Quite frankly, they played almost perfectly in 3 straight matches, and they've only given up that one goal. So we're kind of joking about that, half joking, almost perfect, because Mario, outscoring your opponents 10-1 in these kind of games, especially with the way you're in Honduras, and then just days later you have to start against Lionel Messi and Inter Miami and in the Coliseum in front of nearly 76, all that 76,000 people. The TV, Apple TV made it a big deal, of course, with their MLS coverage. And oh, by the way, you go out and spank them 3-0. Messi with a Y, as I said during the broadcast, Inter Miami. And then you just take care of business on it with a bit of a rotated squad, certainly against Real España. And to their credit, I said this too, LAFC, that was professional. That's what that was. 1-0, but you got the win. And we talked about it, how important that is in CONCACAF Champions Cup. Yeah, you knew you were going to advance, right? There was a 99.99999% chance you were going to advance after being up 6-1. But you still need victories to possibly get home field in later rounds in this tournament. So, slipping up against Real España at home and maybe only getting a draw or whatever, yeah, you were going through, but wasn't going to be a great result. And frankly, even with a rotated squad, you got Denis and Sonny ran around for 45 minutes playing their guts out, and then they got a break. So, you know what I mean? And then you still had a heavily rotated squad, so a lot of new players coming in who hadn't either seen time or hadn't started yet. And you get a professional win, Mario. Just a great night and a great week all the way around.
Yeah, we talk about how dominant they were in the Conca Champions, and I don't think that first round was just about advancing. I really do feel that it was Mark Dos Santos really coming out saying, I want to make a statement in this first round. And that's exactly what they did. It was a 6-1 scoreline in that first match, and that just set the tone. And actually, they set the tone in the first 3 minutes. They really got off and running out there in Honduras. And the boys, they're straight ruthless right now. I think all the guys are buying in. They're all just buying into what Marc Dos Santos is trying to preach to them, and they're just out there just playing their guts out for Dos Santos. And I think being on the road together out there in Honduras really did a lot for the team as well. The boys are really just gelling, and I think they're just itching to get on the pitch every single time. That was their first match together, that match in Honduras, and you could tell that they were just itching to get out there, and they got off to a great start. And the 2026 campaign, even in MLS, is off to a great start. And it's all just building momentum and keeping it going. Now, the next match is on the road, so we'll see if they can keep this momentum on the road. It's going to be tough, but yeah, loving the start of 2026 for Marc Dos Santos and the entire group.
I couldn't agree more. Denis Bouanga getting some, love. There's the player of the match in the first, obviously, and then Kosei Tafara is having a great season. He ends up getting the goal in this third game of the season so far, the second against Real España. He digs one out, and it was a deserved win. And Thomas Hasal, a huge penalty save to keep it a 1-0 victory instead of a 1-1 draw, which would have kind of been a bummer. Again, you don't want to be dropping points. You want to, certainly LAFC respected their opponent enough to come out and play hard in the second game, just like Real España did. Kudos to them, too. They weren't, they were down 6-1, but they came out, they played hard, they played with pride. They weren't like dirty about it. You know what I'm saying? Like they weren't bitter about losing in Honduras in front of their home side, or they came out with flying tackles and things like that, where you didn't have to worry about. They were professional, and they got a pretty good result. They lost, should have been a draw, if you consider a penalty save, and they played and did themselves proud too. But boy, this LAFC team, Mario, I got some notes to just go through with you. The defense has been stellar, shutting out Inter Miami and Messi. And that's with Inter Miami having a whole lot of the ball. I mean, this was kind of, if I'm being perfectly honest, this is going to sound rude to Inter Miami, and they're much better than this. But it was kind of like when LAFC would play a bad team last year and still just gave them the ball constantly and said, you're not going to be able to score on us anyway. We're going to go ahead and hit you on the counter a few times. We'll hold it when we want to. We'll control the game with like 35% possession. We do that against bad teams last year. Sporting Kansas City, stuff like that. No offense. No offense to Inter Miami. They're a better team. I mean, they're a great team. But we did that to them on Saturday at the Coliseum. It was like, here, Leo, have the ball as much as you guys want. You can't score on us. Yeah, that is amazing.
LAFC just have all that ambition. I think it really shows in each and every match. We've seen 3 matches, and they're just so focused. And Marc Dos Santos just leading that charge. And to get to another final in the Conca Champions is definitely a goal for LAFC. But I know Marc Dos Santos knows how difficult that is. I mean, it's a grueling tournament.
It is a grind.
But that's something that he really, really wants to do. And I was listening to Mark in the post-game press conference from BMO Stadium in Leg 2 when they knocked off Real España. And he said that personally, it is a dream for him to get to that final again. And then we'll talk again if they get to that final. We'll see what happens. But it's trophies this year for LAFC and Marc Dos Santos. And here's a little bit of Marc Dos Santos from that press conference talking about the great start that LAFC is off to so far.
I don't see it about me, I'm so LAFC in my DNA that I'm an important piece of the team. But there's other important pieces. For people to look at the coach and thinking the coach is the guy who does the magic, I depend a lot on the quality of the players. And I try to keep a good environment in the room. I try to have a lot of clarity on how we want to go about things, but we're all in this together. So yeah, it's been a good start because it was a hard start. Going to Honduras and that stadium, that grass, you guys weren't on the grass, but it was a challenging grass. Put ourselves in a position to qualify early. I think in the first half, we were in a great position to qualify for the next round. playing a very emotional game against Inter Miami, 75,000 people. I said the game against Miami would not define our season. It's you don't win anything in February. March, April, May, June, July, a World Cup in the middle, August, September, October, November. But it was an emotional game that asked a lot from us. Then trying to finish a game here where mentally you could have a group that, we're already in. And what we said is we have to win. Like, we have to think about this game as 3 points. So we were happy that Thomas saved the penalty. Maybe if they score and it finishes 1-1, we say, not a big deal, we still qualify. But no, it was important for us to win. It's a good start, but still so much work to do. So we're very focused on what's next.
That's so true. You have to win. I love that mentality. He went into that game being up 6-1. We have to win this game. That just keeps the momentum going forward.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Plus, it's also establishing a home field advantage early in the season, because that's different every year. You didn't play Inter Miami at BMO. This was the first game at BMO Stadium against Real España a couple of nights after that. You do need that victory at home, right? And just get into it, get right to it. And yeah, you're going to have different crowds as the season goes on. You'll have more people there. There wasn't a sellout for the Real España game yet. You'll probably have more and more people at the Champions Cup games at home as the tournament progresses, hopefully. And I think it was absolutely important. And I think the players clearly are responding to Marc Dos Santos. That was a question, right? We didn't know. You don't know exactly how a new manager who comes in, even though he's been around, even though he's been there as the assistant. Frankly, he was a very powerful voice on Steve Cherundolo's staff, even still, right? Even,
even on Bob
Steve Cherundolo was the manager.
Way back.
He was.
Yeah,
but Marc Dos Santos was a very powerful voice. As he said, it's in his DNA, LAFC. So he's been a powerful voice, as Mario pointed out, all the way back. Even to Bob, in the day one, we saw Mark when we first went to UCLA for practices in the 2018, right before the season. So
100%.
And we knew. Look, you thought that's what would happen. The players would certainly respond to him, but you're bringing in new players too. And Stefan Eustachio, though, has a relationship with Marc Dos Santos. That makes a big difference. And he comes in and it seems seamless, really, right now with Eustachio. It seems like he's been here for 8 years himself. Quite frankly, he's barely been here 8 minutes, and it seems like Eustachio has been here, with LAFC since we started. Almost, he fits right in to what they're trying to do and what he's trying to do.
Great point, Dave. Yeah, he just fits right in, and he's so calm on the ball and just doing everything. Everything is just flowing so naturally. Just like when Son Heung-Min came in, he just made the transition, adapted so quickly. But when LAFC put up that 6-1 in that leg one, leg two, they were able to rotate, and it was good to see guys like Amin Budri and Jude Terry be able to make their debuts. And here's a little bit of Mark talking about those guys as well.
Amin was 10 days in Sweden because of his visa process. And then he came back only when he waited for us here. We come back from after the game in Honduras and against Miami, and he wasn't fully integrated with the team. But then he does one training session and shows the way he showed, So there's positive things. I think Jude Terry had a fantastic preseason, a player from our academy. So I'm happy to see him get on the field, giving Hugo a rest, Thomas playing, saving a penalty shot. So again, there's a lot of positives. Did the game go exactly in the dynamics that I wanted tactically? No, but I'm used to it. When we do 7 changes, it's not always super perfect.
Yeah, Amin Budri is that dude. I remember telling everybody on this podcast that he's going to be a fan favorite real soon as he starts getting those chances. And I think he's already proven me right, because a lot of people are loving what they're seeing already. He's only had a couple of practices, couple training sessions with the team, like Marc Dos Santos was saying. So as soon as he starts gelling with the guys and clicking and knowing everybody's tendencies, he's going to start getting his own goals. He's going to start getting a lot of assists.
Yeah, he's a good player. I like what I saw. You just never quite know, of course, until they hit the pitch because LAFC is not going to go out and recruit an untalented player. Everybody LAFC brings in, and really virtually every team in MLS now. MLS is at a level where they're getting good talent. They're whether they're younger or older guys, it doesn't matter, but especially the younger kids. These kids are all good, right? They know how to play. They're coming in very talented. It's a matter of can they adapt. It's not like, oh, he might not be able to play. Yes, Amin Budri is very good. It's more about the adaptation. You heard Marco Santos talk about how he hadn't had much time with the team yet, and yet he goes out and does that within a matter of one training session and looks like that against Real España. Now it's his matter of, as Mario says, just keep getting familiar with your opponents and then go do it against MLS teams, which is, sorry to Real España, I'm not really sorry about it. It's not a big, shocking statement that MLS is just above that level, right? Most of MLS teams, it's going to be a tougher challenge a little bit than, we're not going to be beating teams 6-1 every week. Although maybe we will, frankly, and maybe Real España would be, a darn good team in MLS too. We will find out, I guess, because it's so far so good. But yeah, I mean, I love Budri's strength. Yeah. We know about the skill, right? We knew about the skill and ability, quote unquote. But wow, the strength. He was pushing guys around, low center of gravity, really knows how to handle himself that way, with the ball, without the ball. The defenders were getting physical with him, and they were bouncing off. I mean, they couldn't even get physical with him, really. He was the one who was getting physical. So that could be a good sign in MLS, too. It's a physical league.
I like the confidence from Budri, right? I mean, he was just going at guys, attacking them 1v1 and beating them every single time. I mean, he had guys draped all over him trying to pull him down, and he was just, boom, he was off. He was gone. But I think it's good to get that type of rotation so early on in the CONCACAF Champions and early on in 2026 because the squad is just so deep at every single position, talented guys at every single position. All those guys, we got to keep them in rhythm. Like Marco Santos, I think that's going to be his challenge, keeping all the guys in rhythm. So when you're able to rotate, get everybody minutes, get everybody in there, then that's a plus. That's a great thing. I'm just really excited to see this guy, Amin Budri, just really, really get more and more minutes because he's one up at the top of my list as far as this season to see how high, how exciting, how much fun he's going to have with the black and gold.
I couldn't agree more. I can't imagine when he starts, threading those through balls to Son Heung-Min, it's going to be, wow, like right up the gut, man, right through the heart of the defense. Normally that's tricky. Certainly against good teams, that can be tricky sometimes, and it won't be with these guys. I'm confident that it's going to be on display, and we've seen it already with Son going right through the defenses, and Budri hasn't even really he hasn't been a part of that particularly yet, with Son. So I mean, this is just going to be, can't wait. I'm more excited even than before the season started, and I thought I was as excited as you could possibly be. I'm getting more excited about this team for 2026, which is mind-blowing. I gotta say, and I even wrote that down, you just beat me to it, the depth on display again. It's just rotate heavily. So what? You got to win. These guys are supposed to be. There is no second string. It just doesn't.
Not on this team.
No, and for most teams, it shouldn't be the case, but a lot of teams it is. There is a precipitous drop off. There really isn't for LAFC. I mean, we've seen Denis Bouanga miss very few games in his career, mind you. But even when he does, LAFC's had success, and that was before Son comes in. And so this team can win in so many different ways, I think. And they're even more so with the talent they brought in this year, that there's even a few more ways they can now attack you and beat you. But this defense, the goalkeeper, I mean, everything is just, wow, almost perfect. One little goal that he can, Marco Santos can pick at him about, which I think coaches love. We always talk about that cliche, right? He's got that one thing he can yell at him about while still try to keep him humble because it's a long season. And oh, by the way, Mario, as we turn our attention to Saturday, we visit a team that can make things difficult at times for LAFC. Certainly in Houston, going up against the Dynamo. It's the first MLS road game for LAFC. They'll travel to Houston, and it's a Saturday game. You can hear it on the ESPN LA app, ESPN LA 710. Download that app. Great app to listen to the broadcasts Coverage will begin at 5 p.m. Pacific, kickoff a little after 5:30 Pacific time. Mario, this is an interesting matchup. Again, Houston always kind of scares me. I don't care how good LA is at the time. I don't care how bad Houston is. I think the Dynamo are a better team. And we talked with, in Booth the Booth, our new segment here that we just got going last week, we talked with Dynamo radio announcer Alex Parra for a little bit of background on this upcoming opponent coming up on Saturday. Here's that. Is the Houston Dynamo radio announcer Alex Parra. Alex, thanks so much for taking the time. Let's dive right in. What did you see out of Houston? Did it surprise you in the opener with a big victory?
Dave, first of all, great to be with you and with your audience as we start up another season of MLS soccer. For Houston, the 21st season. I was doing the math, and I was there at that first match back at Robertson Stadium, but at Shell this past Saturday night against Chicago. Greg Berhalter in town. You know, it was a tale of two halves, if you will. First half, the team not quite gelling yet, not quite knowing what to expect from each other. Mati Bogusz with a mistake that led to the Chicago Fire goal. And then at halftime, I think, in speaking to Ben Olsen post-game, calm, cool, and collected. And I think the maturity, the experience of a lot of these players is what led to the Brazilian Guilherme picking up the 2 goals and the victory. It was an electric evening, Dave, I'll tell you, at Shell Energy. Not quite a sellout, but over 20,000 people in stadium. And it's something that we haven't felt, I'm using that term, in many, many seasons. There was excitement. And the more that the team started putting things together in the second half, the more excitement you felt. And something that we're not used to in Houston in the last couple of seasons, people stuck around at the end of the match versus, hey, it's the 79th. We know how this is turning out, and we're headed to the exit. So a lot of energy, a lot of excitement in game number 1.
I think it is certainly a team that I said, in my humble opinion, I predicted they would be much better this season. I know a lot of people don't believe that, but I saw the offseason. I saw what they were trying to build under Benny Olsen, who's, in my opinion, a very good manager, so he knows what he's got to do. But, Alex, why did they struggle last season so much, and what will be the difference potentially this season?
You know, Ben said this, Dave, and I think he was honest and transparent. They just didn't have the material. You can hope, you can wish, you can have a game plan, but the reality is, in I think any competitive situation, you have to have the material, meaning the players. You have to have them consistently being there to get you through those moments, to pick up those points when maybe, you know, you're away in the middle of summer and no one's watching a West Coast game for us here in Houston, and you find a way to pick up a point or two as a visitor. Those are the moments that make the difference. So I think last season compared to this season, there's been an upgrade in players, their history and experience. And Ben talked about this, Guilherme, Lucas Halter, Agustin Bussat. These are players that have been successful previously as captains, as leaders of their teams. And Hector Herrera, we didn't see him in match number 1, Dave, but he's someone that's experienced and knows what to do when it's time to put it together and pick up either a tie or a victory.
Being so close to the team, as you see the Houston Dynamo, how do they handle LAFC? How do they beat LAFC or get a result on Saturday?
It's going to be a tall order. I think it has to be a combination of elements. And I hate to say this, fan support, the energy in the stadium. You have to have a little bit of luck, but also maybe grow from last game. And we're asking, this is a true test for Houston early on in the season. LAFC, arguably now with the victory you guys had over Miami, is the top team in the MLS. So why not test yourself early? That doesn't mean you have to come in with an attitude of, hey, we may not measure up. You've got to play. You've got to learn from it. How do they get one? With a couple of breaks here and there, some energy, and maybe 1 or 2 players again that are hot. Maybe it's the Brazilian Guilherme again. Maybe it's someone else stepping up in those moments. I think Ben Olsen will manage the match. I think you want to stay close. You want to stick around if you can to see if something can be put together. It's going to be a tall order, Dave, without a doubt. And you may be screaming a lot of goals for LAFC, and hopefully I get a shot to do 1 or 2.
Alex, we'd like to kind of help educate the fans who may not, obviously we don't watch Houston Dynamo every week.
Yeah.
But I see this as a team. The reason I thought they would be better, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, it's not just getting good players, which as you mentioned, they need more of. Guilherme, Matty Bogusz, those are confident players. And I didn't see a lot of that from the Dynamo in the last year or so. Adding a Jack, McGlynn, he's a confident player. I think more so than just talent, they have guys who believe that they're good and they can believe that they can win. Is that realistic coming into the season?
Look, that's a great word, that they have that confidence and belief. And I think that comes through experience. Mm-hmm. But also there's another word that Ben, I asked him this actually post-game on Saturday, the personality of this team. The personality is one of, hey, I've been here, I've done that. And if I haven't personally, my teammate has. They're lifting each other up. All that said, it's game one, right? It's still very early in the season. I don't want to reach conclusions. In my mind, I think you need 10 games in to really see who are the Houston Dynamo? What is this team really made of? But without a doubt, you're right, sir. I think it's about the confidence the team brings, the experience now that's there from other leagues and finding these moments. And also, I think the personality of the team, it'll start building it. In many ways, I think Ben Olsen's job may be more than tactical, but psychological. How do you manage these players? Some may have egos. It doesn't appear to be that way yet, Dave. But also, at some point, you just let them do their thing if they're mature enough. So they will problem solve. They will figure out the situation, and Ben maybe can take all that credit. So it's still early, but there is some excitement. But LAFC is going to be a challenge on Saturday.
I think it's going to be a very tough match for both sides. I really do. This is a tricky one for both LAFC and Houston Dynamo, and as Alex said, especially this early in the season. Alex Parra, voice of Houston Dynamo on the radio in Houston. We really appreciate you taking the time here on Booth to Booth. Thanks for joining us.
Dave, it's been an honor, a pleasure. Good luck, relatively speaking, on Saturday.
Yeah, you too. For the rest of the year until we meet again. Yeah.
Other than this game, I want to wish you a lot of luck. But thank you for the opportunity, and thanks to all the fans that follow LAFC and MLS soccer.
Alex, thank you. Great stuff there from Alex Parra. Appreciate him. Very smooth broadcaster too. Just so good. It's always fun to talk to him, talk to people who are really talented like he is, and I really appreciate his time.
He knows,
but it is
stuff,
a little
baby.
bit of a scary game.
Awesome.
Yeah, a little scary game there, Mario. I really believe that. I do think a guy like Guilherme can finish chances. The Brazilian knows how to put the ball in the back of the net. Now, will he get enough of them from the Dynamo's offense for a whole 34 games in MLS? Well, that could be the big question, certainly. But could he do it on any given day? Yeah, he did it in the opener with 2 on half chances at times. He made one really good chance, and then he kind of cleaned up another by hustling, much like the Kosi Tafari goal on Tuesday for LAFC. So he can finish if you provide, and that's always a danger on any given day, especially on the road. This one is going to be a tricky matchup, Mario.
Yeah, Guilherme he's a beast. McGlynn is a beast. Bogusz is a beast. So they got some guys there. But for me, one of the keys that I've been kind of keen on is battling that environment there in Houston. That humidity can be a beast, especially when you get those tired legs, those heavy legs, like late in the match. And then you top that with that intensity of that home crowd. That crowd is going to be there to see all the stars of LAFC. They're going to come ready to cheer against LAFC. And they're very tight to the pitch there, much like at BMO Stadium. Shell Energy, they're very, very close to the pitch as well. So they're right up on you. So I think LAFC got to take control of this match very, very early on. Those first 20 minutes, got to take control of this game. And with the way LAFC been playing, I wouldn't doubt if they do. But yeah, I mean, that is going to be a key, just surviving those first 15, 20 minutes and taking control there.
We talked about it when the schedule first came out, and I was discussing it with Alex after we recorded the interview there, like a few minutes after, just off the air. And I'm glad this game is in February going to Houston, because it isn't 100 degrees and 98% humidity. It's going to be hotter.
It's going to be like mid 80s in this one. There's going to be
a kickoff, and by the time the game's over, it's going to be even cooler. And humid. It's always humid there, but not the August humidity. Like we always seem to play them in July or August in Houston for like years at a time, and it was always seemingly like. Also, it's kind of favorable for the schedule because I don't know if you remember much of this, Mario. It seemed like, and maybe I'm just wrong, I ask other LAFC fans, comment. If you're on YouTube watching, you can always comment there or send, through social media. Doesn't it seem like every time we went to Houston, it was also a game where we were just in the thick of like 8 games in 22 days, and we had to rotate. It was like you're on the back end of 6 games in 19 days, and all of a sudden you're in Houston in 100-degree weather with 90, and it was always seemed like, oh, we have to rotate. Everybody's dragging, and we're all tired, and it's like, here comes the Dynamo in Houston, Yeah, exactly. You never know how the weather is going to react. Yeah. Also, it's like, let's be realistic. Last few years, the Dynamo, what we talk about it with a lot of teams. If you're not really a real threat, playing LAFC is kind of like your playoffs. It's kind of like your MLS Cup. I know it's just a regular season game, quote unquote, but it's different. It's like, it's
the
like
type
playing
of environment that LAFC is going to go into with that crowd as well. The crowd knows that. The players know that. This is a big match. This is one that's been circled on the calendar when the schedule came out for Houston and the players, the coaches, the fans, and everybody. But I think these early season road matches in MLS, they really test the mentality. And I think it's going to test the mentality of this group. This is going to be a good test for the boys on short rest after those very emotional games like Marc Dos Santos was saying earlier, the Conca Champions, and then that big season opener. This is really, really going to test the mentality of the guys, and you just got to stay sharp. You got to stay focused, and that crowd is going to be all up on you. So try and just hold that, and we'll see how LAFC do. The Houston fans, they want to see Sonny, they want to see Denis, they want to see Hugo, Ruiz. I mean, these are big time athletes that people want to see. So the crowd is going to be there.
Yeah, I agree with that, but it's also a case of, I like it in a sense that, yes, there's a couple of games in between us having to go to take on Alajuelense down in Costa Rica. Like, we're still a little ways away from that. But this is the kind of game that kind of almost prepares you for that in a way. It's that warmer weather, southern United States. Like, we're, certainly the weather's great in Southern California, but it's not quite as we said, not quite the biting humidity and the real hot weather potentially and all that. It's also just kind of, the crowd is going to be, you're right. It's going to be hungry. The Dynamo have not been good. They weren't good at home, which is a rarity last year. They want to change that from the get-go, and they got that in week 1, beating a good Chicago Fire team. So they're certainly riding high on 3 points. Very interesting challenge to start
one
the
of
season.
The storylines that we're not really talking much about yet, but is facing old friend Matty Bogusz, like that's going to be huge storyline leading up to this game. I know he's going to be super intense for this game. He plays with a lot of emotion, so he's going to be there. He's going to want to beat his former team, that's for sure. And I think, for him, I don't think he's familiar with this particular squad, though. It's not like he knows LAFC, because this is a different squad. New head coach, new identity.
Yeah, you're right.
More offensive. So, but I do think that Marc Dos Santos knows him, and I think our players know him. So I think we kind of have an advantage as far as knowing Matty Bogusz and how he plays and his tendencies, his strengths, maybe even his weaknesses too.
So funny, though, that you say that, because, like, look, I'm a diehard Cleveland sports fan, right? Grew up there, born and raised. But when someone leaves one of those teams, like, I don't care how big of a star. It doesn't mean I don't like them anymore, but I don't really care. If they leave, it's like, okay, good luck. Even LeBron James, who won me my only NBA title in my lifetime, right, with the Cavs. He goes to the Lakers, and I want the Lakers to do well, but it's not, okay, he's gone from the Cavs. It's fine. I hope but I'm not that into it. But when an LAFC player, because we get close to these guys, bottom line with what we do, like, I still want them to do well. Like, I'm rooting, objectively rooting for them when they leave. When Diego Rossi went to Turkey, and when Matty Bogusz goes to Cruz Azul. I don't want Cruz Azul to do well, but I want Matty Bogusz to do well there. Well, now he's playing us, and it's like, well, okay, good luck the rest of the year. But, you still have a little bit more connection to them, Mario, because we cover them.
It's so
talk
true.
to them so
it's
much,
so true, Dave. Because even when I covered boxing, when I used to cover boxing, I would get close to these fighters, and they would have a big, big fight coming up, like a big championship fight. And sometimes, they wouldn't win that fight, and they would get, hurt or knocked out or something. And you just like, it hurts, because you do get that connection with the guys. You want to see them do well. That's such a good point, Dave.
Well, look, I'll take a 6-1 win if Matty gets 1 goal and we get 6. I can live with that.
Yeah.
Marc Dos Santos will have something to complain about his defense about still, and we got to tighten that up. Matty Bogusz gets a goal, but we win 6-1. I'll take that right now. Good luck to everybody involved once they stop playing us. We wish them the best wherever they go, but not against us. That's for sure. Around the rest of MLS, Mario, with the plus of LAFC Plus, obviously a huge opening weekend, great crowds, really some really well played games for a first weekend too. The ball was pinging around with a lot of teams playing really well. I thought, it didn't look like a first week where everybody's still kind of, whoa, we don't even know our teammates yet. And sure, they're going to get better, but I really thought the level was very intriguing for a first weekend. San Diego FC and Nashville are going to be problems. We thought that, but I think we know it now. They're going to be real problems for people this season. They look good.
Oh yeah, San Diego's playing like they never left last season. I mean, they're just rolling. They're rolling in Conca Champions.
Yeah.
Clean sheet, 5-0 win over their home opener. Anders Dreyer didn't even score in that match, in that 5-0 win in the season opener. They sprinkled those goals among a bunch of players. So everybody's getting in there, and their defense is solid too. Their defense has been rock solid. They're quick to hit you with the counter attack and score goals that way too. So they're going to be a problem for sure in the West.
Yeah, Nashville looks very good. There was some really good games. New York Red Bulls under new manager Michael Bradley. That was intriguing, of course, because Michael, we love Bob here, of course, a legend at LAFC. You figured Michael Bradley would end up being a manager someday because he was just that type of player too. And then, of course, being Bob Bradley's son just that connection. So it was intriguing to see him. His team played very well, so keep an ear on that. One thing I will say, and I know we haven't done Stilo for a while, MLS Stilo, but the Orlando kits, and I didn't even think of this to bring up a picture now if you're watching on YouTube, sorry, but if you're listening, check them out. Look, Orlando looked bad in the game. They would have rather won the game, I promise. But man, those kits look good. From top to bottom, from the socks on up, they look sharp. They didn't play sharp, and they lost to New York Red Bulls in week 1. They would rather have the win, but they looked good. I'll give them that. Mario, top teams, in my opinion, in this league, the reason I think MLS is improving so much is the top teams are getting better and better, tougher and tougher. There's more of them. It really is. It's not top heavy because there are several good teams too, but the elite are really, really seemingly getting better and better in this league.
Yeah, I love that. That's what you need too. You need your big time clubs, big city clubs, big market clubs to really load up and really be a dominant team, really have stars as well. So the big teams in this league, in MLS, Inter Miami, LAFC, those type of teams are really showing you how to grow this league and to get eyes on this league. And that's going to do it. I mean, you have to respect those clubs for pushing the envelope, and then it makes all the other clubs, hey, let's raise the bar here as well. Look what they're doing over there. So I love that too.
Yeah, when it comes to growing a league, Son Heung-Min is like a one-man dynamo, no pun intended, for who we're playing this way. I mean, he is just incredible that way too. He's just been awesome for the growth of this league and just the type of player is. You saw the Real España players all wanting to take pictures with him afterwards. Everybody wants that jersey. We saw Maxi Falcone seemingly practically begging him for the jersey in the middle of the game, it looked like. So amazing, no doubt about it there. You bring up some great points. Mario, I'm going to start with you on the games we want to watch, which is what we do here when the MLS regular season comes along. Of course, we all love LAFC. That's the key focus. But with LAFC Plus, we like to look around the league, and there's other teams that we want to keep an eye on. Certainly, what's the game that you want to watch this weekend?
We talked a little bit about Orlando. I really am looking forward to the last 2 matches on Sunday. Orlando City against Inter Miami. So Orlando's going to host Inter Miami, and that's a good one always because it's a Florida Derby match. So both teams
they hate each other
for that one. Yeah. It's always entertaining. It's always passion. So that's going to be good. And really, Miami's been on a friendly world tour. So they're just coming back from Puerto Rico leading into this match, and they've been they also were in LA at the Coliseum, which is not an easy trip from Miami as well. So they've been traveling all over. Maybe Orlando catches them at a good time. We will see this Sunday, but I think that's a good match. And then the other match I want to see is San Diego against St. Louis. And San Diego, they have a lot to prove after, having such a good year, but then getting knocked out of the playoffs. I think San Diego really, really are using that for motivation, saying that, they're not a fluke. They're going to try to get there again and have just as good a season and even more. So we'll keep an eye on them. I know I'm going to keep an eye on them all season long. I think San Diego against St. Louis is going to be a good one.
Good shouts. You mentioned St. Louis. I watched their first match. And the thing that stuck out to me is, now I know why they let João Klaus go to LA Galaxy, because they have Simon Betcher up front. And did he look good? He, not a guy who maybe has a high profile by any means. Like, people don't really, he just got a contract extension literally after that match for this week from St. Louis. And he looked incredible in that game. Ended up a draw because Christian Kalina for Charlotte stood on his head in goal, made 10 saves. I mean, he was making big save after big save. St. Louis City actually dominated that match at home, in my opinion, but couldn't find a winner. But Simon Betcher, wow, he looked really good. So, again, João Klaus is a good player. He's going to be good for the Galaxy for what they need, but now I know why they moved on from him, because Betcher is ready. The game I want to watch, Mario, is the Canadian derby. You mentioned a nice Florida derby, and those two teams hate each other. Well, Vancouver and Toronto, there's no real love lost between those two. And I think it's an interesting thing, because I thought your match is up as a good one, because both teams, I mean, I hate to say it, they kind of need a win. I know it's only game 2, but Orlando and Inter Miami, you don't want to keep dropping points right off the, and so they both started with losses. Vancouver, of course, getting a big win. Vancouver got a win. It was kind of sloppy though. And Toronto had a tough loss, albeit they played decent against FC Dallas on the road. So I want to see this match, because it's another one. I think both teams need to play well. Again, it's early. You don't get the full 3 points. It's not the end of the war, but you just want to build on how you're building your team. And I think Toronto's certainly a long way to go. Vancouver's just kind of tweaking and refining things, because we know they're a good team. But I'm very interested in this matchup, because the blood tends to boil in this one too. They kind of just hate each other, along the lines of an Orlando Inter Miami. So, two good derbies. I didn't know we were going to pick two derbies, but
that's
I
true.
Think those are very good games to watch amongst the big slated games.
Early on in the season, some people say, "Oh, it's so early on." I'm not really buying that. I think these early matches, these 3 points count just as much as in October.
Amen.
Like, let's not get that twisted. Like I always say, like, these early matches, they count. So, getting off to a good start is huge. Getting off to a bad start could really be trouble as well. So I think, like you said, both teams gotta respond.
Well, you cannot win MLS Cup in February. We heard Mark Dos Santos say something similar to that earlier. But the LA Galaxy certainly lost it in February last year, when they started out so bad that they took them 16 games to find. They lost it early in the season. You can lose a season early. You can't necessarily win MLS Cup, of course, but you got to be careful. You got to come out and really put in some good performances. And we saw those in week 1 from several teams, including, of course, LAFC, and that magical victory over Inter Miami. What a week it's been, really. And Mario talked about all that. On a personal level, Mario, the game at the Coliseum, taking out the football, which was incredible. What an event, though, right? I mean, that was just another great night and huge night for LAFC.
Oh, yeah, and it doesn't get that packed for USC matches these days, but LAFC fans packed it out. I mean, that place was all black, T-shirts. So it's like, I was going to expect a little bit of pink more sprinkled in there, but not so much on that night. It was a whole lot of black jerseys and a whole lot of LAFC chanting. So I was very proud, and what a night that was.
Yeah, it really was. Great night. LAFC, though, now have to go on the road, traveling to Houston coming up Saturday, February 28th. You'll hear the play-by-play on the ESPN LA app. Super easy, super great to use. Download that app if you want to listen to my radio calls. Coverage begins at 5 p.m., kickoff at 5:30 Pacific coming up on Saturday. Mario, that's going to do it for episode 90 of LAFC Plus, presented by Hotel Indigo in Los Angeles. We really appreciate their support. Great hotel. Check them out for all your hotel needs there in downtown Los Angeles, and you will not be disappointed. I'm never disappointed with you, Mario Ruiz, and LAFC Plus. This episode in the books, man. Take us out of here.
Yeah, this is a big one on the weekend. Up in Houston, the first MLS road match for LAFC. I'm really looking forward to that one. Like you said, catch us on the ESPN LA app. Make sure you catch Dave Denholm on the call. He's the best one doing it on the mic. You know, I always tell you that, Dave. So keep it going. LAFC's been on fire. Dave Denholm's been on fire as well on the
Thanks,
mic
brother.
already.
Appreciate that.
In postseason form, baby. This has been LAFC Plus. We'll catch you on the next one. This is LAFC Plus presented by Hotel Indigo, Los Angeles. Peace.